Hello guys, and welcome to the first episode of our new YouTube series, which is called Hybrid Hump Day. It is Hump Day, it's Wednesday right now. We are on a hybrid, and we will be doing this every Wednesday. We're looking at different ways of building a hybrid, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe and come back every week so you don't miss an episode. And let's jump right into it. Today we are on the classic, the most basic hybrid setup you can do, but it's one of the best, maybe even the best. Despite its simplicity, it is really good. Especially next patch. We are on the PTS right now. Next patch, DKs look good, really good. Especially the hybrid DK might be really amazing. There are some changes to the DK class and some set changes that really push the hybrid game even further. So let's jump right in. Our stats, we have 25k Magicka and Stamina. Those are really nice pools. Can't hurt to have those. Our health looks a bit low, almost 15k. That's because we're in PvE land right now. In Cyrodiil, you will be sitting at a little over 21k health, which is, for me personally, that's fine. If you're not really comfortable doing this, you can always adjust your attribute points a bit and just put a little more into health, or play around with the traits, the enchants, whatever it is, or even swap out the food. Like I said, I like the 21k. That's enough for me, because it is a medium armor build, and you want to play actively. You want to react to your opponent. You don't stand there and take the beating. This is not a heavy armor build, so please don't try to tank people. You are supposed to avoid attacks. Alright, taking a look at the recoveries. 1400 Magicka and almost 1100 Stamina. Actually looking really nice. And let's not forget, we are on the DK right now, and the DK has a lot of built-in sustain. So when we put burning or the poison status effect on our opponent, we will be getting the equivalent of like roughly 200 regen if we keep applying those status effects. So this is roughly like 200 regen. And then of course we do have the resource return from our Battle Roar passive, which is really nice, and of course potions. So I think that's pretty decent sustain, and of course we have a Stamina and a Magicka weapon on this build, so you can do heavy attacks to restore your resources. And heavy attacks should anyway be a part of your rotation, so make use of your heavy attacks. Don't let them go to waste. It is really important. Our spell and weapon damage doesn't look like really good right now, but we will be buffing up in a minute, and then you'll see how far this goes. We basically double these values, so be prepared. Our spell and, let me just swap my bar, our spell and weapon critical are actually looking really fine. For a hybrid, this is awesome. 32%, almost 33% spell critical and 40% weapon crit. Oof, that is nice to see. Really nice. Of course, our spell and physical resistance, they are not very high. We are not using an armor buff on this build, but this is not really about the skills. You can do whatever you want with the skills. Slot whatever you want, what fits your playstyle, whatever you need. And yeah, we are basically just looking at the gear setup and how you should have your stats aligned. Let me buff up real quick. So On the DK, we buff up with Rally, and we also buff up with our Igneous or our Fragmented Shield. If you look down here in the corner, you will see my weapon damage. So we're sitting at 4.4k right now. Let me give this guy a poke. 5k. We just went over 5k. That's already a lot of damage. But next patch, DK has something special to offer, and that's the rework of the Molten Whip. So if we get our buffs up and we do this, and this, 5.6k weapon damage. Wow. Wow. That is amazing. And that's not even all, because we have actually way more damage than this would suggest. And don't get me wrong, 25k stamina on 5.5k weapon damage is already insane. But if we look at our stats, we are wearing Slime Craw. So we get 8% extra damage on top of that. So this is just a flat damage increase that will go towards all your outgoing damage. This will not increase your heals unless your heals are damage based. So like, let's say if we would use Burning Embers, this would be affecting our heals, or if we would use our Flame Lash, this would affect our heals. But outside of that, this only affects outgoing damage. So the second set we're using is Pelinals, of course, the classic hybrid set. Actually, pretty nice stats. The extra health definitely helps. Stamina and magic recovery, really important on a hybrid because you need to sustain. But don't just look at the regens of this build, because the way a hybrid build plays is just so much different to a normal build. You know, with a Magicka or Stamina build, you kind of rely on your cost reduction and your regen, but basically you have a 50k resource pool to pull from. You know, we have 25k on both pools, so this is a 50k pool to pull from, and we have like almost 2.5k regens if you put them together. So you can just alternate between your resource bars. I would say use them both equally if possible. That's why we have, I think we have five stamina skills and 5 magicka skills, so an even split. If one of the resources gets low, just use the other one. One other thing I want to mention is we are using a Frost Staff on the back bar, so we can actually block with our Magicka. If the stamina is down, you can block with your back bar, and it uses Magicka, and this gives you some time to regen your stamina. And the other way around, we switch the bars, and we block with our front bar, and this will help regen your Magicka. So whatever the situation is, whatever is lowest, you can attack with both pools, you can block with both pools. We only have stamina heals at the moment. You can slot the green dragon blood, the coagulating blood, whatever you want. So like I said, these skills are just one recommendation. You can do whatever you want. This is the beauty of a hybrid build. Feel free to slot whatever skills you want. Create your own playstyle. Hybrids are a very creative playground. You can do whatever you want. So the last set that we're running is a set that right now on the live server is still not very good and not used much by people. So Shieldbreaker was introduced back in the year 2015 when IC came out, and it was a popular set back in the day, but it really lost popularity, and right now pretty much no one's using it because it just did extra damage, Oblivion damage to shields, and yeah, it's just not very good. But With the Elsweyr patch, this gets a rework, and this makes a lot of sense for a stamina build, a hybrid build, and believe it or not, I have even tested it on a Magicka build, and it works. You can use this on a Magicka build if you want. So, the change that the Shield Breaker set got was it now does 6% damage across the board. It's basically like Slime Craw. It's just a flat damage increase by 6% for all outgoing damage. And then if you attack someone that has a damage shield on them, you will get double that. So you will hit 12% harder. So with the Slime Craw and this, we hit 20% harder. This is really, really good. And of course, the 2, 3, and 4 piece bonuses are also really good. The max stam, the stam recovery, the weapon damage. This is an awesome set for a hybrid. Really. You get everything you need. You get the damage, you get the sustain, you get the max stats. I love this. So, we are using the Warrior Mundus just to push the weapon damage further, and we are using the Candied Jester's coins. You can use whatever food you want. So play around until you hit the stats that you like. If you want to go for more regen, you can always go for like regen drinks. I would recommend just going for maybe health and both regens. Or if you don't want to be a vampire, I just like being a vampire because, I don't know, it's nice. I like the extra regen and I just like being a vampire. If you don't want to be a vampire, you can just use like the Artaeum takeaway broth to get like all the stats, the health, the regens on all 3 pools. So that would also be a great option, which would give you more survivability because you don't have to rely on your heals that much when you have a nice health regen going. Looking at the skills, this is just a recommendation. You don't have to use this, but this setup for the hybrid DK makes a lot of sense. And please ignore that my weapons are bugged out. This is a common theme on the PTS. So this is my 2H, in case you can't tell. We are using Flames of Oblivion. This is very nice because it scales with our highest resource now. We don't have the highest resource. Our resources are the same. But it makes a lot of sense because it gives Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, which are the Magicka and Stamina crit buffs. And having that on a hybrid is amazing because it's really hard to build crit chance into a hybrid without like losing on other stats. So yeah, this is amazing. I'm glad they changed a lot of stuff about this. Well, not a lot of stuff, but the scaling is now really good. This goes up to 10k. Our tooltip goes up to 10k when we fully buff up. Maybe even 10.5k if we get the resource buff from Cyrodiil. The next skill is Venomous Claw. You could use Burning Embers if you want. I went with this one just to balance out the Magicka and Stamina skills. This is also really, really cheap. Look at this. Not even 800 Stamina. This costs you nothing. This costs you nothing. You can basically spam that. And I would actually recommend spamming that. Even though the damage on these on this skill got reduced. And the dot doesn't come as fast as it used to. This is like a part of an ongoing effort to make the dots work the same in this game. But you can definitely spam this if you want because it is so cheap. Look at my stamina. This might not do a whole lot of damage to a target when you just keep attacking them, because you usually lose out on the ticks. But if you have someone that's blocking and you just want to wear them down, you just want to wear down their stamina, use this because it basically costs you nothing. You can just do this forever. And if someone's blocking, they will just lose out on stamina. They will just, you will wear them down really, really fast. So feel free to do this. And of course, when you do this, your weapon damage goes up because, let's take actually a look at the Molten Whip. When you have this ability slotted, and you use any other, what's it called? Any Ardent Flame ability that is not the whip, you will increase your weapon damage and weapon and spell damage by 125. This stacks up to 3 times, and your whip tooltip, your whip damage will go up by 99%. So the damage of your whip will actually double. So doing this is actually very viable if you have someone that's just tanky and blocking all the time. And just do this, get your weapon damage up, and then you can do like a nice whip. This was a 22k whip. And let me actually buff up. Let's do this, 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 and this. Look at our tooltip. Yeah, almost 22k on the Molten Whip tooltip. Really, really nice. So this is basically the combo. You just pelt them with a couple venomous claws, and then you hit the big whip on them. Really good. So, and it costs you basically nothing. This is so cheap. This is so cheap. You know, you do this like 3 times, then you do the whip, then you do the things again. Or feel free to alternate between your Flames Up Oblivion and your Venomous Claw. And it just keeps buffing your damage. This is a really interesting playstyle for a hybrid, and I'm actually glad they changed some stuff. I'm not happy about the Magicka DK because there's some things that I really don't like, but for a hybrid, this feels really good. This is amazing. You could basically use the whip on a stamina build now. If you build your character right, you could actually have like a decently hard-hitting whip on a stamina build. So yeah, the future looks bright, I must say. And yeah, we have like a 20k Dawnbreaker tooltip. We get up to 8k on our crit rush, and like I said, 10k for the Flames of Oblivion. It is insane. This build is beautiful. I don't think you will have any sustain issues on this build. Like I said, if your resources get low, you have the Ice Staff on your back bar. Do a heavy attack. If your stamina gets low, do a heavy attack on the front bar. It's that easy. And of course, make sure you have the burning and the poison status effect on your target, because that will give you a lot of sustain as well. And then of course, if you need resources and you have your ultimate up, just use it. Get the resources back. It's really, really good. So this build has a lot of ways to sustain. So looking at the regens, this doesn't really tell you how sustainy this build can be. Let's look at the skills, and let me explain something to you. Like I just explained to you how the damage stacking works. You know, you use 3 Ardent Flame skills, and then you get the really nice big whip. So this can be your rotation. You do Venomous Claw, Flames of Oblivion, Venomous Claw again, and then the whip. Of course, on the back bar, here is something interesting. We are using the Frost Reach, which is, it's not a CC, at least not a hard CC. It will root your opponent, so your opponent will still be able to control their character, but they won't be able to move. So they will stand still, and they have to either wait till the root is over, or they have to roll out of it or purge it. So these are your options: stay, roll, or purge. And you can do this over and over again. And we also use the Silver Leash, the pull. So you have 2 different kinds of CC on this build, which is really nice because you can really wear down your opponent's stamina. What you do is basically you root them, they will roll out of it. You can root them again, they will roll out of it. Then you use the leash, you pull them, they will get CC'd, and they will try to get away from you, break out, roll. So this is a really nice kit just for controlling your opponent. 2 different CCs that you can stack on top of each other is immensely powerful in PvP. It really is. And especially if you put like a bit of pepper into someone, you know, and you just hit him with a bit of stuff, and they want to get away. You have full control over them. This is so nice. I can't wait to play this build, to be honest. I'm very excited about this particular kit. Like I said, do whatever you want, but I think this looks really strong. The amount of damage, the amount of synergy, the amount of control, it is insane. This is probably the best hybrid build that I've seen so far. This is insane. It really is. Then, of course, we are using our Race Against Time. Gives us a little bit of speed, a little bit of extra crit damage, which is actually viable on this build because we have decent crits. So having this skill really does a lot for you, and they changed the skill so it now removes snares and gives you immunities to snares and immobilizations. So this keeps you mobile. Really nice, because this is not a speed build, but with this skill you just it is nice. It is such a complete kit. I can't hide how excited I am about this. I love this, really. It is great. So that's basically the skill setup, the gear setup. We talked about the stats and why we went for certain things. Let's take a last look at the champion points. In the red tree, I have the standard layout that I always use. 51 ironclad, 77 resistant, just to get the nice bulk on this build, a nice damage reduction. 43 hardy and elemental defender, and of course 56 quick recovery, just to get the heals going. This build actually should have really strong heals. We're looking at like over 14k on our vigor. That's really strong. And then of course we have the rally for the burst heal and the heal over time. So I like that. Green tree also pretty basic. 15% in warlord, 12% in sprinter. Feel free to adjust this to your liking, to your playstyle, but I think this is pretty solid. The regens are pretty split. 10% in both magicka and stamina, and a little bit, just a little over 8% in tenacity, just to get a little more resources back on your heavy attacks. Like I said, heavy attacks are a viable form of sustain, especially on a hybrid where you have 2 different weapons, stamina and magicka. This can cover all your sustain, basically. I went for 20% in tumbling here because I think we're not going to block a whole lot on this build. We have the frost staff and the reduced block cost, but I wouldn't really do a block-centric playstyle on this build. Block whenever needed, but you should avoid attacks, so more focus on the tumbling here. Now comes the interesting part, as always. Hybrid damage is a bit tricky to build into the CP, but we have a pretty even split here. 10% in Elfborn, 10% in Elemental Expert, and a little over 3k in Spell Erosion. We have the same thing over on the Stamina side, 10% in the Precise Strikes, a little over 3k in Piercing, and 10% in Mighty. And then, of course, the rest we just put in Mastered Arms. This gives us the most bang for our buck, because we are using mainly direct damage skills. We have a little bit of dots, but I wouldn't really put anything in Thaumaturge. This is not really focused on dots, and your dots should be fairly decent even without the Thaumaturge. So we are focusing on the Master at Arms, and that is the damage split, and that actually wraps up the build. So yeah, this is probably gonna be the best kind of hybrid to play. on next patch. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I will try this build out on the PTS. I hope we can find some fights. It is looking mighty fine. Next week we are gonna look at a max stat hybrid, which doesn't focus on spell and weapon damage that much, but more on magicka, health, and stamina. So you can look forward to that. Alright, that's the build video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and I hope you come back next week when we do episode 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.